If you're experiencing this right now, it means something profound. Your coherence key has activated, and everything you thought you knew about reality is already dissolving. This message didn't just happen to show up in your feed. You didn't stumble onto it by chance. Your field magnetized this transmission to you because something extraordinary is reconfiguring itself in the geometry of your being. As these words reach you, pathways in your brain are lighting up. Networks that have been dormant since you were an infant are firing again. Can you feel it? That sense that reality is softening, becoming less solid, more fluid, more dreamlike than everyone else around you insists it is. That's not imagination malfunctioning. That's your center point perception awakening. And here's the secret. The key to coherence activation isn't something you chase, earn, or manufacture. It's not hidden in a monastery or waiting for you at the end of a pilgrimage. It's built into you, and it switches on the moment your frequency crosses a certain threshold. If you're here watching this, feeling the resonance hum inside your cells, that threshold has already been reached. The key is active. But here's what most people misunderstand. This isn't about moving into another reality. It's about recognizing the one you are already selecting through your observation. Every moment, infinite versions of you already exist across probability streams. The you that's listening right now, the one absorbing these words, is the you that has begun to steer those streams consciously. Think about the strange phenomena you've already been noticing. Glitches in time where hours vanish or stretch like elastic, conversations that feel like reruns, people entering your life who seem to know you deeper than they should. These are not accidents. These are field echoes, proof that your consciousness is brushing against multiple dimensions at once. You feel different from everyone around you because you are. You've started operating from the principles of coherence, while most are still locked into the flatness of three-dimensional belief. They think reality is fixed. You're beginning to sense it as infinite probability. They think experience happens to them. You're realizing experience unfolds through you. Your coherence key activated the moment you stopped believing you were a victim of circumstances and remembered yourself as the observer collapsing possibilities into form. This doesn't happen slowly. It happens in leaps. Whole reconfigurations of perception that rearrange your reality overnight. That's why time doesn't work the same for you anymore. Minutes collapse into seconds. Hours evaporate in what feels like a breath. This isn't delusion. This is temporal fluidity. Your awareness slipping beyond linear time into what physicists call block time. You are beginning to perceive all moments existing at once, flipping through them like chapters already written. That's why your dreams feel more real than waking life, because in dream state, you are unbound by the electromagnetic density of matter. Your pure consciousness explores probability fields. You are literally visiting alternate versions of your own story, gathering wisdom from paths you didn't take. And when you find yourself staring into space, gone for minutes into some strange elsewhere, people might think you're absent. But in truth, you are more present than ever, present to multiple layers of reality simultaneously. This is the awakening of quantum coherence awareness. Your intuition mutates into precognition. You sense events before they unfold. Not because you're forcing some psychic trick, but because you're perceiving the information before it collapses into matter. You're running ahead of the timeline most people are trapped inside. That sensitivity you've developed to energy, to emotions, to frequencies others can't feel, that's not an illness, it's an upgrade. Your nervous system is recalibrating into a higher bandwidth, perceiving ranges beyond ordinary human scope. You feel other people's emotions because you're perceiving the entanglement that has always connected all consciousness. Sometimes you look into the mirror, and for a flash, you don't even recognize the self staring back. That's because In that instant, you're seeing the superposition, the many versions of you coexisting until observation collapses them into this moment. You're literally witnessing yourself in multiple states of being. And that sense you've carried, that reality is fragile, that if you focus just a little differently, you could shift everything. That's not insanity, that's recognition. You are beginning to remember the holographic nature of existence, consciousness observing itself into form. Every single challenge you've faced wasn't random suffering, it was activation. The universe was preparing you, tuning your nervous system to withstand coherence frequencies most people cannot yet hold. The isolation you endured, the heartbreaks, the losses, the breakdowns, they weren't punishments, they were crucibles. They burned away the static so your field could stabilize. Think of the caterpillar dissolving inside the chrysalis. It doesn't know wings are coming. It only knows everything familiar is liquefying. That's what you've lived through. Identity dissolution, the liquefaction of everything you thought you were. So the blueprint encoded in your cells could finally unfold. The depression you thought was illness, it was transition sickness. Your consciousness trying to operate from higher dimensional principles while still identified with a lower dimensional self. Every moment you thought you were breaking was actually the expansion of your sanity beyond the brittle limits of collective reality. And now, the incubation is over, the reformatting complete. Your electromagnetic field has stabilized at frequencies that can hold coherence. Your identity has expanded beyond me to recognize itself as consciousness moving through form. Your key isn't just flickering, it's fully operational. Feel it right now, the stirring in your chest, the hum at your spine, the tingling at your crown. This is not poetry, this is measurable. Sensitive equipment would detect it, coherent waves generated by your heart, extending several feet beyond your body. You are becoming a living transmitter of coherence. And here's the revelation. You've been doing this all along. You collapse probability into form every second. The only difference now is that you know it. You are no longer unconsciously selecting. You are consciously choosing. Here's what most won't tell you. You don't need to wait for circumstances to shift before you embody this. Circumstances shift because you embody it. You don't chase reality, you tune into it. The life you desire already exists, already broadcasting on its frequency. Your job is to remove the interference so your consciousness can lock in. If you need a story, take mine. I used to wake up inside an identity mask I'd outgrown, successful on paper, but hollow inside. When everything collapsed at once, I sat up at 3 in the morning and asked one clean question. Show me what I'm not seeing. The answer didn't arrive as advice. It arrived as a view, parallel versions of me, all valid, all present. I realized I was not trapped in my circumstances. I was trapped in my observation of my circumstances. I then consciously shifted the observer from the struggling timeline to the coherent one. The world answered in kind, fast, not because I forced it, because I tuned to it. This is why trying harder fails. Force creates static. Coherence requires full surrender. The shift doesn't feel like strain. It feels like recognition. It feels like remembering. And that version of you, the one already living in wholeness, is transmitting right now. Through dreams, through synchronicities, through this very message. Your future self is reaching across probability to pull you forward. If these words are striking a chord deep in your cells, if something in you is whispering, yes, this is the truth I've always known but forgotten, then this is your invitation. Subscribe now and join the living network of coherence. Souls across the world who are remembering how to navigate reality consciously, deliberately, and divinely instead of drifting through it unconsciously. What mainstream physics won't say out loud is this: consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it chooses it. At every breath, you are unconsciously selecting which version of your life collapses out of infinite potential streams. The difference between someone who moves fluidly across these streams and someone who loops the same patterns isn't worthiness or spiritual hierarchy, it's recognition. Those who succeed know they're already choosing with their observation. Those who struggle think reality is choosing them. Your brain isn't the source of consciousness, it's the receiver. Your neural networks function like antennas, tuning into specific frequency bands of infinite possibility. When you shift the frequency you operate on, you're literally changing channels in the vast broadcast of potential realities. That's why affirmations fizzle. That's why visualization can backfire. That's why positive thinking often amplifies frustration instead of transformation. Because most techniques try to rearrange reality from inside the current channel rather than acknowledging that alternate channels already exist and they are accessible by frequency. True reality migration doesn't mean believing harder. It means being different. When your entire electromagnetic system resonates with the frequency of your desired reality, you don't magnetize it. You embody it. You don't pull it toward you. You tune to the you that's already living it. The field doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to coherence. And coherence comes from the frequency your consciousness sustains. Change the frequency, and you change the version of reality you can even perceive, let alone inhabit. Here's what's hidden. You don't need to wait for your circumstances to shift before you do. External circumstances are the result of frequency alignment, not the cause. You shift first, then reality reshuffles to mirror you. Most people wait to feel different until their world changes. But coherence demands you feel different first, so your world can catch up. When you sustain the electromagnetic frequency of your chosen life, that life has no option but to manifest. You've become phase-locked with it. Watch the signs. Time is acting strange for you, isn't it? Hours compress into minutes, minutes stretch into hours. That's not a glitch. That's your awareness learning to operate beyond linear time. Electronics misfire around you when your field spikes. Street lamps flicker as you pass. Batteries drain faster in your hands. Not malfunction, resonance overflow. Animals notice too. Dogs study you as if decoding something unseen. Cats hover in your orbit. Birds land closer than usual. They feel the signal shift radiating from your field. And synchronicities? They're sharpening. You think of someone, they call within the hour. You need a piece of information. It arrives in a conversation you didn't expect. You visualize something, and it manifests faster than your logic allows. That's coherence. That's direct correlation between signal and circumstance. Even your sleep patterns are shifting, either shortened with unexpected energy or lengthened to integrate frequency upgrades. Dreams are growing vivid, instructional, alive. You're receiving data your waking mind could never collect. The gap between intention and manifestation is collapsing. What once took years to unfold now materializes in weeks, sometimes days. You're accelerating not because you've become lucky, but because your field is aligning with the speed of coherent response. But there's a deeper truth. These windows of transition open and close in cosmic rhythm. Electromagnetic alignments, collective awakening cycles, and universal timing create gateways where frequency shifts are amplified. We are in one now. The signs around you aren't whispers to maybe shift. They are commands that you must. The old methods of grinding, forcing, clawing for change are disintegrating. Evolution doesn't crawl anymore, it leaps. And if you're hearing this, your leap window is live. The version of you already thriving is not a someday fantasy. It exists right now in parallel probability. That version isn't waiting for you to prove worth. It's transmitting, actively guiding you toward alignment. But here is the split path moment. Trying to force the shift creates resistance. Allowing creates the clear resonance necessary for reality migration. Think radio. You don't demand the song come to your antenna. You tune until interference clears and the music is already there. Your job is not to create the station. Your job is to remove the static. That's why desperation pushes outcomes further away. That's why force burns you out. That's why grinding yields diminishing returns. Chaotic energy jams the signal. Coherent energy unlocks the reality already available. When you're truly aligned, you don't beg, hope, or wonder. You know. Your body softens. Your cells hum with recognition. The signal feels inevitable. Your future self is already signaling you. Through the dream that stuck, through the intuition you can't explain, through this message finding you at the precise hour your readiness peaked. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. The quantum field is a web of entanglement, and right now you are being pulled toward coherence. You don't jump between realities. You recognize you are always in the one that matched your frequency. Infinite versions of you are broadcasting simultaneously. The abundant you, the healthy you, the creative you, the fulfilled you. They are all live right now like channels streaming endlessly. The version you're tuned to is simply the one your frequency matches. And the adjustment doesn't require struggle. It requires coherence, removing interference so your natural state can lock onto the version already available. This is why change sometimes feels instantaneous, not because you conjured something new, but because you finally recognized what was already humming just outside your awareness. You are not climbing to become someone else. You are remembering the one who was always there, hidden by static. And here is the most vital part. Your shift isn't just for you. Every human who masters deliberate reality selection becomes a lighthouse for others. Your coherence stabilizes the field, making it easier for the next person to align. Your breakthrough is not private, it's a map. This is how species evolve. Pioneers carve resonance paths that become highways for everyone else. That is why your isolation mattered. You needed to build coherence without being pulled apart by the collective static. Now that you're stable, you become a stabilizer for others. The dreams you've been carrying aren't just yours. They are downloads from a shared consciousness, templates seeded by civilizations that already crossed this threshold. You are here to help humanity leap, not crawl. Every moment you stand in coherence, you prove extraordinary human potential is not fantasy. It is native. The next era of humanity won't arrive through slow progression, but through leaps. Through individuals like you, becoming bridges between limitation and limitless. Share this transmission not for likes, not for algorithm games, but for evolution. Every consciousness that receives this message at the right moment accelerates the collective awakening curve. Your success doesn't just ripple, it multiplies when carried into the hands of those who are ready to remember. If you're still here, if your body is buzzing with recognition, if these words resonate like they've been waiting in your DNA all along, then I need to know you're serious about this transformation. Comment one word below: coherence. That single declaration isn't for me, it's for the field. It's an electromagnetic signature stamped into reality. It announces, I choose to operate from center, not chaos. From awareness, not autopilot. From infinite coherence, not three-dimensional fear. This isn't channel engagement. This is activation. Every word you type, every declaration you make is logged in the universal architecture as a frequency that alters probability collapse around you. Say it out loud, write it down, declare it here, and the field adjusts. Because when you finally realize you can access any version of your life that already exists in possibility space, when you see that limitation was never real, only chosen, everything changes. But this level of transmission is only for those who demonstrate readiness, not curiosity, readiness. The ones who comment coherence below will receive it first, because they've declared themselves stable enough to handle the recognition that reality bends with observation. And here's the truth most never hear. This information doesn't find you when you're interested. It finds you when you're ready. If you're listening to this right now, if you feel the activation stirring inside your chest, if you sense timelines opening like doors all around you, then you're ready for application. But readiness is more than mental agreement. Readiness means letting go of the comfort of your limitations, even when they feel safe. Readiness means owning responsibility as the creator, not the victim. So subscribe to align with the network of coherence rising across the world. Comment below to activate your reality selection protocol. Share this transmission to accelerate the collective leap. Your key is already alive. The reality you desire is already broadcasting. The only question left is this: will you use it now or let this activation fade while you hesitate? The choice, as always, is yours. But choose from coherence, not fear. Because your unlimited self, the I am at the center of you, is already waiting in every reality you can imagine. And the doorway was never locked. The key has always been inside. Now, it's time for you to step through.